or presents Past Tense.
This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And here we are, the final Jackson Public episode of the season. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say a weird one.
Yeah, Leslie, notice me.
I put this episode, just a peek behind the curtain here. Cole and I don't talk about these outside of the show. Or to put it more directly, me and Cole don't talk outside of the shows.
Yeah, it's strictly professional. We got kind of a Mythbusters thing going on.
Yeah, like two Agent 47s. I think this is a little too light on jokes for me.
Yeah?
Like, I like the lore. I put this almost in the Brisby hole.
A little bit, yeah. It's
not quite the Brisby hole. But.
Yeah, so I mean, like, Brisby moves nothing forward. So at least this has that going for it. And it is showing us the old team venture in action. But like, you know, it's the old team venture before they figured out what to do with them, besides just like, oh, it's funny that Colonel Gentleman is William S. Burroughs, and it's funny that Action Man farts a lot.
Like old men do.
Yeah, like old men do. Like, Willem Dafoe's character in The Lighthouse. Yeah, like this is, they would eventually, I think, get better at doing these past heavy episodes. Like Shadow Man 9 is pretty light on jokes, but I think that accomplishes a lot of the same things,
totally.
With lessons. Yeah. They learned lessons from this.
Yes. Like this lays a lot of groundwork that I like, and I like the lore parts of it. It's not quite there yet.
Right.
And there's a weird... there's a thing in the book that unlocks it for me, like almost a confession, where Jackson talks about he's writing characters who are not professional writers, like making jokes to each other.
Yes,
and I just had this thought: why though? Yeah. Like, you never do that in the real. Why? Like, why do you have to? Put this governor on it now to make the jokes kind of shitty. Like, you just make them say funny shit in the current time.
Yeah, and like
the
they
fact
don't have
that
to
they're friends
be
in college doesn't make them unfunny.
Yeah, like they don't have to be trying to be funny. Like that would probably suck, and that would fall into the problem that he's trying to avert. Probably, just like if they were all being intentionally being cut ups, but like you can have them be inadvertently funny. You can play into the patheticness. Like the stuff that they say to and about Baron Underbite, or like even Baron Underbite, his relationship with his little manservant that he has there, like all of that can be funny. It just doesn't have to be constructed like straight up as a joke. Like they can just be pathetic and that'd be fine.
It ends up being kind of weird, while still, again, there's lots of stuff to like about it. This one, as we mentioned, this is the written solo by Jackson Public of season 1. First aired October 16th, 2004. And this is them doing the Reed Richards Doctor Doom thing specifically. They want all these characters to know each other in college, the same way that Reed Richards and Doctor Doom knew each other in college.
Yes. They're doing kind of a big chill thing to get there. Having all of them gather at this funeral for a friend, this Mike Sorayama. Public had at the beginning of the season, or when they were developing the series, put together a list of things that he wanted to see. This was on there, having the Doctor Doom backstory. They also wanted to show the original Team Venture back in action. Figured it'd be fun to do a to show the old men putting the uniforms back on, and something that I didn't realize they were doing until I read the art book was, and why don't we just throw a character we like from Fargo in here? Yeah,
explicitly not the same. Like it's real weird how in the book how they disclaim how it's not the same character, as if we wouldn't know that. Like, it's just like no, this is just kids playing with toys. This is us just being fanboys.
Yeah.
But the villain of this episode, Mike Sorayama, is based on like a one scene character in Fargo.
Yeah.
Which I rewatched today. I hadn't seen Fargo in a long time, but I rewatched the scene.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, there's a cool scene, like just really, weird energy to it. And it's just, this Japanese guy with a really thick Minnesota accent. So they got the actual actor for that. And then his kind of villain turn is based on his name, Sorayama, who's the guy who drew, like, I knew these images before I knew who they were.
Yeah.
All of the sexy fembots. If you got yourself an airbrush like sex bot, where robot wives are cheap and effective. This is Sorayama's art.
Yeah. So you probably have seen a Sorayama without realizing it, especially if you have been around nerd media. If you have a boner right now, it's because of a Sorayama piece.
Yeah.
That's a weird dystopia that the only thing that can get aroused is that can make any human aroused is an original Sorayama.
They'd be very rare.
Yeah.
Like you had to hunt them down.
The
Dennis
rich would
Hopper would
hoard
have
them.
one in his
in that tank.
Yeah, in that tank that in his fortress in the middle of the land of the dead. So it just kind of has this one-off villain. This also feels a lot like it's them doing their villain of the week stuff.
Yes.
Like when they had that idea. Like this does involve, the Monarch gets a cameo and mentioned. Baron Underbite is a fairly prominent character, but it really is just this one-off dude.
Yeah.
Here. And it that's something that they wouldn't really revisit until the last season of the show. Like they move away from that and get really heavy in lore. And then like when they come back to it, it's really triumphant.
Yes.
And fun.
Yeah, but Mike Sorayama after this really only gets passing mention in relation to things related to robotics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Let's do. We've got our cold open here. I love this.
The cold open is really, really good.
It's really strong. The modern day team venture. They're on their way to a funeral, but they're late because they have been waylaid by jackassery, as Rusty says, while he is trying to get dressed in the cockpit of the X1.
And this jackassery is helping the ant people, and then of course to subvert the ant people. They gave them their hidden treasure, which was a licked up Jolly Rancher, and the key to their city, which is like this tiny little key.
And of course, Brock had his way with their queen.
Made special friends with the queen, and then Brock has a shit-eating grin in the background during that. That's extremely good.
Hey Brock,
like
where'd
my
you
lap
put it?
smells like ant puss. The kind of smile you can only have when your lap smells like ant crotch.
Yeah.
Like you get that look that like I fucked an ant,
Yep. So
that look, that confidence that only a man can never have.
In that particular situation. Hey Gary, were they shrunk down?
No, I think the ant queen might have been big.
Okay.
Ant queens are bigger than regular ants.
Yeah, but I mean, hundreds of orders of magnitude bigger than her subjects.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like an Alexia, Queen of the Ants,
Queen Veronica,
yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's my assumption, but maybe they shrank down.
Yeah.
The only reason why I think that they maybe didn't shrink down is because the capacity for shrinking and the dangers of shrinking become very much like it
becomes important later. Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like something that willy-nilly, but that's of course retconning.
Of course.
While this is happening, Rusty's putting on his pants, and he causes the X1 to nosedive into a funeral. You think that they are crashing their own funeral, and then the joke where he's like, Sorayama funeral, and he points over the church.
over at the chapel. Yeah. I love that the plane takes a nosedive and plows up all of these bodies, just digging through those ditches and burning through those witches.
Yeah, man. It's very
ghoulish.
Incredibly ghoulish.
But it doesn't bother them because the important thing is they are not late for their social obligation. They're not late to be some of the only people at Mike Sorayama's funeral.
Yeah. They get there. Dean is all freaked out by the dead bodies. There's a really cute little touch here. He's like, just last week, Brock killed 2 dervishes in our room with a a pillowcase full of Cokes. You know, they were taken away in body bags.
Those were sleeping bags.
You know, they're just sleeping upside down, inside out. There's a really relatable moment here too, like after he says that, where Hank says, Dad, were we related to this guy? Am I supposed to be sad? And that's a very relatable kid at a funeral.
Yeah.
Feeling. I was like, that's a really well observed line.
It's like, no. I'm too young for anybody close to me to be dying.
Yeah, like I didn't know this person. Why am I here?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like a high level concept as a kid. The idea that you have to mourn a stranger.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. I was like, well, yeah, that's good.
Geez, I have to be sad because people I love are sad. Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an advanced emotional maneuver.
Yes, it is. It is a thought technology. I love what Hank says to Dean, though, as he's trying to justify his way around having seen people die, or like even just like trying to justify his way around what Brock does for a living. And Hank says, "Sing yourself another lullaby, baby Dean."
Yeah. Poor little naive Dean.
Oh boy. But Hank is the one who asks, like, hey, should I be sad? And Rusty says, you didn't know this person. I went to college with him. And Hank insensitively asks, oh, did you have hair then? And Rusty says, ooh, some people said I had too much hair. And that's when we get our flashback and we get to see the young versions of all these characters.
They're all hideous.
Uh-huh.
Hideous beyond reckoning. They're all like the ugliest character designs they've made on the show. Just really disgusting. They also add, so the joke here is like they were like, we don't really have jokes during this last part. Let's add a laugh track and Happy Days wipes to it. This felt weird to me because there isn't like a prominent sitcom that takes place in a college dorm.
Right.
Like this, like it was like this is parodying a kind of thing, but not a thing that looks like this. Like this looks like Revenge of the Nerds or something.
Yeah.
Where everyone's talking about getting their roommate or true real genius or something like that. So it's just weird.
No,
like I don't know, the laugh track thing is super weird to me. I don't like it.
Yeah, the story that they tell about arriving at that is relatable because they get this footage back, they do all the post-production at Astro Base at this point, and this involves like late night editing sessions where they're sitting there together trying to make decisions, and they realize, we need to add some interest to this. And then somebody just throws out, what if we made it like Happy Days, and then boom, there you go. It's like I don't know, like maybe they were too far along to go back to a drawing board, now that they have the animation back.
Absolutely. Like it's in the writing step, that I wanted this to be a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
And it's rare. Like there are a couple good lines in it, but there's not, it's just kind of weirdly bereft of jokes.
Yes.
The good jokes that they have in this, Joe, like, so Rusty is, he's got male pattern baldness already. He says he goes by TS now.
Oh my God, I need an identity outside of you, Dad. And no, I don't want to talk to Helper.
Yeah. Can I put him on? I really like that bit. And this is his last conversation with his dad, as far as we know.
Yeah.
Is him shunning him.
Yeah, saying, stop bothering me, and like asking like, how do you always know that I'm in my room? Like, give me some space. And it's weird knowing what we know about Jonas, like how caring he is here. Yeah. Yeah.
He liked his kid a little bit.
Yeah.
He was just like negligent. Adventure negligent.
Yeah.
So when he hangs up, very tragic, the last thing to do to your dad. We meet his roommate, Mike Sorayama, who has a Minnesota accent and is the character from Fargo. He asked to, if he can meet his dad because he wants to work in robotics. Rusty says it's just a fad.
Which is a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Rusty, weren't you like almost killed by several robots like a lot of the time?
You have a robot nanny.
Yeah.
Like you have a sentient robot nanny who loves you legitimately. Very, very weird.
Yeah.
And this is where we introduce the subplot where Mike has a Chem 101 textbook because he's tutoring this girl, Leslie Cohen. He has a crush on.
Yes. Chem 101, he tested out that in AP, and he is like specifically doing her homework for her. Like, it is, it is not a reciprocated relationship that Mike has with her. And as he's talking, trying to like, you're just going to say like, no, I'm just trying to help her. We get introduced to young Pete White, who pokes his head in and says something racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Says that Mike has a teeny Chinese chubby.
Yeah.
Chinese short for Chinese. Mike is not Chinese. He is Japanese.
No.
And also Pete White is, again, fucking hideous. Like, he looks like a garbage pail kid. I can't handle how they look in this, like when they're kids.
Gosh, the acne that specifically Pete and Rusty have is really rough.
Yeah.
And also
just real
White's braces, too.
Yeah. Really, really intense.
Yeah.
So he showed up at the funeral here. We're cutting back and forth between modern times and the flashback.
Yes.
For this whole episode. And the kids are basically, there's a lot of lines in this too that are empty lines where the kids are like, you were there too? Get out of here.
Yeah.
That are just like, man, that's, just moving things forward. Like, it's very, very workmanlike lines.
Yeah. Just calling out how unlikely it is that all these people who still know each other met each other in college, when actually that's how a lot of things happen.
Yeah. Rusty gets assigned a freshman roommate, and it turns out this is Brock. The kids are like, oh, you were there. That's why you're such good friends. And Rusty gets sheepish. It's like, well, we actually didn't see each other that much. And there's a montage of him just constantly banging women on the top bunk.
Yeah. Well, the camera focuses on Rusty's like anguished face as he is in the bottom bunk.
Yeah. What a nightmare.
How inconsiderate is all I can think of when I looked at that.
Wasn't in a dorm ever.
Uh-huh.
Like went to college later than that. But I dated a girl who was in a dorm when I was college age.
Uh-oh.
So I had some dorm room sex. And the idea of like, coordinating that shit for when like roommates aren't home and stuff was a legitimate thing.
Yeah. It's a logistical concern. You have to take it into consideration.
It adds a little Obra Dinn energy to your sexual exploits, where you have to kind of logic puzzle when different roommates will be in and out and everything. But the idea of just freeballing it and just being like, no, they're here, but I'm not going to mess with that. At one point it goes until the alarm goes off. And Brock smashes the alarm clock. And I just felt very bad for Rusty.
Yeah. Although Rusty's initial reaction is really funny. He's like, geez, I don't want to have to show another kid the ropes, as he's standing there in his dorm room full of prog rock posters.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. The gong poster. Yeah. Oh, geez. So
Pete's roommate was Baron Underbite. Some kid who they flash back to that, like some kid he's a king somewhere. Where he's at. They call it his Pete Rose haircut, which I love.
Very accurate. Love that.
Yeah. He got like a slave, for Christmas or something.
And he lives in the closet, Pella. And
he's just a horrible roommate.
Oh, he's just a complete brat. He comes in and is making a big deal about how, Pete White didn't respect the tape line room divider, which is nothing that's ever worked out. That's not a thing that ever happens in real life. Yeah.
He's like, you're not the king here. You're just the kid with the weirdest smelling lunch, which is a really, really funny, accurate thing to say to a foreign exchange student. Yeah.
But it's also incredibly funny to have a character who is coded as German be obsessed with a border and not having it crossed.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I don't know if they were intentionally doing that, but I thought that was really funny in a history way.
Pete talks about Underbite's eyebrows, which are big bushy numbers, and Rusty talks about a kid in his creative writing class with crazy eyebrows that go out to here, and only writes poems about monarch butterflies. The monarch only shows up for a cameo in this episode, but it's kind of foreshadowing that he also was there.
Yes,
which is a little weird with his origin that we saw before, but again, they're still figuring it out.
Yeah, trying to get it there. But I love the idea of him as this like broody goth kid. Who has had this obsession ever since his being raised by wolves moment. So the service ends. We've, been introduced to all the main characters here. And really the only people in the chapel here are Rusty, Brock, White, and Underbite, and then, Hank and Dean. And there are these 4 mourners, these women who are in veils at the back, very suspiciously. So they go up to carry the casket. I love how Pete and Rusty drop it immediately because they didn't expect it to be that heavy.
Yeah, like just the idea of having like really uneven pallbearers is really funny to me.
No, when you're planning that out, like you've got to, you got to make sure that you're not having one end carried by all the weak people, Yeah,
you got to kitty corner them.
Yeah. But as they're carrying the casket, handcuffs come out, lock them to it, and they're knocked out by crazy knockout gas. The casket takes off like a rocket, carrying them away, and the mourners follow them, leaving the kids alone.
Who basically must help her take them home.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Help her combine with the X1. It's fine.
Yeah. They're going through there. Dean is going through his dad's things, and Hank starts talking about rescue plans here. What is this? I saw this in the wiki. What's this a reference to? Where he goes, Dino, you're a smart kid, but you're not a wartime consigliere.
It's a Godfather thing.
The Godfather, yeah.
Yeah, it's what one of them... Yeah, it's what one of them says to Tom Hagen. Just the idea of a wartime consigliere is like, we need a lawyer who can help us get through this this kind of gang war that we're in. Like you're good otherwise, but you're useless in this situation. So he's just making a Godfather reference. Yeah,
where they call the Monarch, and the Monarch's like, "Wasn't me. I got something planned for next week," but, which is very funny.
Yeah.
So they end up calling Old Team Venture here, starting with Colonel Gentleman.
Yep. Doing his William S. Burroughs things out in Tangiers.
Yep. William S. Burroughs things. Just William S. Burroughs things.tumblr.com.
He's got his consort Kiki, and he's there smoking hookah, living it up. Yeah.
We talked about Colonel Gentleman before, kind of a Sean Connery.
Yes.
Kind of character. And then in the book, they keep mentioning Quentin Crisp.
Yeah.
Do you know who Quentin Crisp is?
He's a bon vivant.
Yeah. Yeah. He's an English writer who lived in New York, who is like a fancy guy.
Yeah. No, just a ridiculous appearance on that man. Yeah.
Yeah. Shows up on when I Googled him just to figure out who he was. Fabulous gay British celebrity Quentin Crisp visits New York.
Yeah, I'll hear his name and I'll think, no, that can't be right. You must have been like Quentin Crisp or something like that, because Quentin Crisp is a breakfast cereal.
It's a cereal.
Yeah.
It definitely sounds like a cereal.
Yeah.
So,
they call Kano, who's getting a massage. Lady's walking on his back. He's over there in Kyoto, but he manages to get over to the compound. And then they introduce Otto Aquarius. This is the first time we've seen him, the Aquaman.
Yes, half Atlantean prince, obviously based on like Namor or Aquaman or Abe Sapien.
Yeah.
He has become a Jehovah's Witness here. And the joke is just his like really creepy voice and how wet and disgusting he is.
Yep.
And then Return of the Action Man. With Major Tom's wife, his current wife, arguing about putting on his outfit, rather. His Action Man pads, his knee pads, barely fits. Barely fits him at this point, and he farts a lot at the end of scenes, which again is just like a fart joke. But if you ever walked behind an old man at a grocery store, that this kind of stuff just happens. Basically nonstop.
When I worked in a mall, the mall was always open on Sundays before the actual stores opened for mall walking. You would get there and it would just be it'd be like somebody opened up a paper mill in there, man. It was bad.
Yeah. It's one of those things I kind of look forward to the age where I can just like with abandon.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because like right now I'm really cognizant about when I do that.
Yeah, I know. You want to make sure you duck away. Step out to take a phone call or something. Yeah. I can't wait until I can shoplift and have an excuse. Just like, oh, I thought I paid for this.
That's gonna be good.
Yeah,
that's gonna be sweet.
I don't even especially like the idea of shoplifting, but if I could do it, I might.
Excuses.
It's kind of like weed. If I don't want to do it if it's a crime, but if it's legal, like whatever.
You'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you might like some of the things that you left. Like right now, you you're just stealing little boy toys and stuff like that. But eventually you'll get to quarries and stuff.
Yeah,
and
quarries and
rivers,
bridges,
you'll feel good.
stadiums. Yeah.
Yeah, double trouble. So that's our team.
Yep.
And they're reuniting. We cut back to the dungeon, or to Sorayama, where the people are, our main cast are. They're in Sorayama's dungeon.
Yes.
They get locked up. They had like a weird paralysis gas.
That turns them blue.
Pump in the antidote. Yeah, they pump in the antidote gas, which is very grisly.
Yeah.
But the people who have them, the mourners, are all fembots.
Yeah.
Austin Powers style fembots.
I know. I had that episode. I had that issue of Heavy Metal too, Mike.
Yeah. Sexy fembots.
Yep. And I love it. So the way that this is staged, they're kind of paired off and they're manacled at the neck. And of course, Brock and Underbite blame each other and start going for each other. And this causes them to start strangling Rusty and White. So.
Yeah. I love Underbite here. Like you saw through my evil plan to get myself chained to an albino,
which he raises a good point.
Yeah, really, really good. When a screen appears and it's Mike taunting them,
yes,
asking if they like his Leslie bots. Leslie's the reason they're all here. You all contributed to my downfall.
Yes.
Here, Underbite first. And we get this series of flashbacks to just like minor slights. Minor and major slights.
Yeah.
To him. Which again are, I don't know, this whole thing feels a little weird to me. This doesn't not quite work. Like this whole thing, like him having Underbite here, Underbite pulls a prank on him. They're all playing out of a Cylon bong, a Battlestar Galactica Cylon bong, taking ripping hits. And Underbite says like, hey, this is pure Underland sesame. And Mike starts acting like he's high. Then they all make fun of him like he's not actually high, it's oregano, but he was allergic.
Yes. So he starts like swelling up, which, yeah, okay, you inadvertently poisoned your friend or whatever, but the bigger deal to Mike is that he had to cancel his study date with Leslie, which he thinks would have been made the difference for him, right?
Yeah.
Underbite is, fed up with this. Like, this is nonsense. I can't believe you're keeping me here for that or whatever. And he decides to fire off his jaw, which he can do. It's a rocket powered jaw. Yeah, to attack one of the fembots who zaps him and knocks him out again. And he's out for the rest of the episode. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like a Chekhov's jaw.
Yeah, because Brock gets a hold of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Colonel Gentleman shows up and introduces the kids to the team. A great line. I'm glad you called it out. One of them shakes Kano's hand. He's careful, lad. Kano's hands are strong enough to crush a boulder, but gentle enough to crush a butterfly. That's a really good line.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah. Well, and this is, Kano is mute, and we're going to find out why he's mute in a couple of seasons. But he communicates by, like, he will make a fist, and then when he lets his fist go, it reveals that he's, like, folded a little origami figure on there. Yeah. So like that's how he emotes, and that pays off a little bit later on. Colonel Gentleman asks the boys like, hey, who do you think, just what happened? Do you have a list of suspects? And they start going through this number of villains.
The Velvet Phantom, the Invisible Fist, the Mesmerist,
the Troublemakers Incorporated. Oh my God, I want a whole show about Troublemakers Incorporated, Gary.
I would like to find some Troublemakers and incorporate them.
Yeah, it's a good idea. If nobody's tried it, then yeah.
I can't miss idea.
Oh man, just a wonderful idea for a name for something. But the boys are like, we have no idea. We were just at this, we were just at this funeral. This is not a problem because Jonas had implanted a tracking device in Rusty's molar, answering Rusty's question earlier. How does my dad always know when I'm in the dorm room? Yeah.
So you got this tracking device, but they're interrupted because they hear this hissing sound. They think it's gas, but it's Dr. Orpheus calling for his cat Simba.
Yeah, doing the
out of the house. Orpheus is only in this for like 2 seconds, but he's really good. They shoot him a bunch, and he turns into snakes, which I love. And when eventually they figure it out, he's like, no, I can't turn into snakes. It's just like in Cloudman's minds.
Yeah, just an illusion.
And he was shot.
He was grazed
by the Action Man.
Action Man grazed him. And this is a real dick move. I don't think Orpheus would do this later, but he pulls a something wicked this way comes. His hands glow and he like grabs onto Action Man and says, 2 years, 17 days from a stroke. Good day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
gets his petty revenge.
It's a real fucked up thing to do to somebody, although he was just shot. So,
and he's also happy about it. And there's a deleted scene where he's just like, "Hey, I got 2 years left." He's like actually pretty into it, which I think is a very funny Action Man kind of thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, geez, but very good Orpheus content. So they're on the X1. Colonel Gentleman does a Fear and Loathing. Says, I assure you, Kano's an excellent pilot despite his racial handicap. Doing that there, and Otto Aquarius tries to convert Hank and Dean. He tries to give them tracts. This
is really good because they're just like, how come you're not old like everyone else? He's like, because I'm half Atlantean. And so how do we get on that? And Action Man says some drunken sailor has to have his way with your mermom. And the way he segues is like, well, if you're interested in eternal life, if I got some good news for you. His little segue is very good.
Yeah.
They make a squishing sound when they shake his hand as well. And that's the thing about these type of characters you never think about is that they're always wet. It'd be really unpleasant to be around them. Like you don't want to hang out with Abe Sapien. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, like just they're not meant to be around you. Like this guy's supposed to be in the water. Look at him. He has to go to the bathroom to moisten himself. You got to keep the boy dry if you want to keep his voice high. Come on.
Yeah, he's got to be dry. Yeah. So Otto Aquarius is really gross and doesn't show up again for a cameo. I don't think
he's kind of backseated. I mean, they even say that in the joke book, not in the joke book, in the art book, saying the joke for him is that he's a Jehovah's Witness, but there's not much you can do with that. So
yeah.
So they're following the tracker. And they land where it's given them the beacon, but it's not where Rusty is. It's actually in his old dorm room. They find this old dusty molar under the bed. Obviously this place hasn't been cleaned, which is gross and accurate. And Colonel Gentleman thinks that Rusty took his own teeth out, and he assures Kano that this is not time travel this time.
Time travel doesn't play into this caper, as Kano sculpts a tiny time machine.
Yep.
Out of origami. They find out from the kid who's living there that Professor Sorayama is alive.
Yes.
So he's not dead. They find out they're at the funeral for him, but he's still alive. Dun,
yes.
dun, dun.
So we cut back over and we learn what Pete and Rusty did. So we get a flashback to Pete, who was on the radio. This was kind of his claim to fame. He's the host of The White Room with the ever popular Pete White. And he makes a fake dedication from Mike to Leslie. With a pretty crass message. Leslie, I masturbate furiously to your picture every night. Please notice me. Love, Mike. Which is a fun prank, but it did get him kicked off of the air. So
yeah, of course it did.
Yeah.
The
FCC takes a dim view of frank discussions of cranking it.
Yeah. You're not just supposed to talk like Dr. Demento that one night. They got him blacklisted. I get demented on my crotch every night. So while this is, they're all reminiscing about this, Brock grabs Underbite's jaw to break the chains, kind of setting up this, his part of this. The original Team Venture show up at the church. There is a little deleted scene here where Otto Aquarius, and we're going to do the deleted scenes, during the season wrap up as well.
Yeah.
But I just noticed this one because I was reading about it, where Otto Aquarius says he can't partake in the violence. They say, well, why did you come to help with us? And he says, well, I just thought I could witness to you, but I can't stand it anymore. I'm not hanging out with a sodomite, an idolater and a murderer. To the people. And Kano responds this by sculpting him an origami penis and handing it to him, which is very funny. But then he goes, well, there is one way you can help. And that's when he does he tries to get in doing the Jehovah's Witness thing. This is also where Action Man says he's like, I'm not scared. I got two years and 17 days left, or something like that.
Oh, geez. Oh, he has impunity. Now I can
He
understand why he
considers
would
himself
be
invincible.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. Yeah. I didn't see that deleted scene, but that makes sense. Why Kano would do that? Your old friend getting preachy on you.
No. They go into the church. They mentioned it's like, it's the old fake coffin trick. Gadzooks, you think we would remember that from the mystery of the old fake coffin? Very fun.
I love the idea that they recall incidents from their past as the episode, from the
titles.
Yeah, from the Rusty Venture show.
That's great. Yeah. So they come in and they beat up the Leslie bots, Kano and Colonel Gentleman and Action Man.
Yes.
Do this. And they do a Go Team Venture with the old timey logo.
They do a proper one, and Hank and Dean are real impressed.
Yeah, proper. We still have to figure out what Rusty did.
Yeah, which was the gravest offense of all. We get a flashback where Mike, Pete, Rusty, and Uterbite are all playing D&D. They're all playing Dungeons and Dragons. Mike is the DM, and he has the corner. He has the party corner by this Leslie golem. Like, she looks exactly like Leslie Cohen.
Her skin is like a rock. Your battle axe bounces off of her. And Rusty is like, she looks exactly like Leslie Cohen, huh? Well, I seduce her. I'm a wizard with 25 charisma. And I was like, of course.
That's a bad way to use your stats as a wizard. If you're a sorcerer, sure, but
that's very Rusty.
It is very Rusty. Yeah,
it's extremely Rusty. And Mike says this is the greatest betrayal of all.
Yeah.
And Rusty's like, I made fake love to graph paper. What are you so mad about?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, he sees her walking half dressed out of Rusty's room. Mm-hmm. And we all know that Rusty didn't. He's like, no, I didn't lose my virginity until I was 24.
Yeah.
That wasn't me. Mm-hmm. He's about to say it's Brock, but when he turns, Brock is gone.
Yeah, so Brock has used the jaw to break the chain and also to short out the security panel. So we got a loose Brock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Mike calls for the Leslie bots to find and kill Brock, but we got a team venture putting on the clothing of the Leslie bots.
I love this plan. This Scooby-Doo ass shit. Like, okay.
It's very funny. It's also in here. Mike tells Pete and Rusty they should be thankful for taking out Brock because what he did that night of the last D&D game. Mm-hmm. And that's the night we saw in the Joy-Can. Of him getting kicked off the football team for killing the quarterback.
Tommy the quarterback.
Tommy the quarterback, getting drunk and furious. And we cut between him going back in time, just beating the shit out of all of his friends because he stepped on a D20.
Yeah.
Which does really hurt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not as much as a D4, but come on.
D4 is the worst. Mm-hmm. But then also beating the shit out of the old Team Venture, dressed up as Leslie bots, just Brock in a berserker rage.
Yeah, this is really clever. I like this. I like this quite a bit. The way that they intercut it between past and future. It is Brock doing the exact same moves. Pretty good. Mm-hmm. It turns out that Rusty didn't lose. He didn't take his own molar out. It was knocked out when Brock punched him, which, if you've ever had to have a molar removed, you know how much force is involved in that. So good on you, Brock. And in the present, Brock is swinging Otto Aquarius around and he throws him through a wall like Mario throws Bowser. And Otto Aquarius hits and kills, quote unquote, Mike Sorayama.
Yeah. Hank and Dean finally step in. Mm-hmm. You broke our friends, Brock. And when they go in there, Kano tries to as they're going in there, Kano tries to fold an origami crane, but he can't, so he flips off Brock, which is great
with his broken hand.
When they go into the control room, Mike was just an android who's just saying Leslie over and over.
Yes.
And Hank is like, we finally solved the mystery.
It was a ghost robot.
Yeah, it's very good. Mm-hmm. Dean says it was probably, just a regular robot. Mm-hmm. And Mike must be hiding in the room. So I think I know where. And he opens the casket and then vomits from the corpse.
Yeah, because Mike is dead in there. He actually did die. And
He has a robot being a professor for him, apparently.
yeah. And he has programmed this robot and also the Leslie bots to hate his old college friends. Which of course makes very little sense, but Rusty says, well, that makes about as much sense as anything else today. Let's get out of here. And they walk out to a happy whistle tune, forgetting that they have left Pete stranded, chained to an unconscious Underbite.
Yeah. Then we get to credits.
Yeah.
Because they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We have a post-credit scene, which is pretty good, pretty strong. Brock packing up his stuff, like he lost his scholarship, so he's going to go join the army. And as he leaves, like, hey, sorry about that, man. Hey, it's somebody from somewhere called Venture Industry called. Your dad died. Later.
Just really casually throws it off and walks out of his life.
That's really good.
And that's the important moment. Like the Rusty will leave college after this to go ineptly take over the family business.
Yeah. And then that's kind of the episode. And like I said, it is fun to see the old team. I just feel like they would do so much more with this kind of setup now.
Yes. Yeah.
Or in later, not now, but in like later seasons, they would figure out how to kind of like make this work and be funny, and then also establish kind of more lore stuff. It wouldn't be as kind of simple as it is.
Yeah. Yeah. There are like moments there, like stuff that we laughed about, as we talked about it during the show. But I agree. This is one of those ones that it is not served by some of the choices that they made, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. Just wish it was a little bit stronger.
Yep.
Because I do like the idea of the history of this, like the history of these characters quite a bit. And I love old Team Venture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old Team Venture, whose ranks just keep on expanding as they come up with new characters that they want to put into it. Yeah.
Kind of similar to how like Rusty's coterie in the present world does as well. Like I was watching, YouTube suggested, when I watched that deleted scene, YouTube was suggesting other clips. So I watched the end of Operation Prom again. And I was like, oh yeah, like Shore Leave's there. The Alchemist is there. Like they do get like a bigger coterie. The cast like expands.
Yeah.
In a way that's really, really kind of sweet. So yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff. I think that's about it.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in to Duckstream.
Yes, that was a great success. Thank you.
Great success. For being generous and for tuning in. We really do appreciate you. Thank you, for supporting us. If you support us on Patreon, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. If you'd like to do that, get episodes a week early and get bonus shows.
Yeah. And leave ratings or reviews on whatever directory you get the show from.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully, by the time you heard this, hopefully you had a nice holiday if you celebrate, and hopefully you have a good New Year if you celebrate.
Yeah, hope you and everybody around you remains safe. It's scary out there still.
And go Team Venture.
Go Team Venture.